Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. RDAP Dan here, Federal Prison Time Consulting. Hope you guys are having an amazing start to your week. Today is Wednesday, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the chaos that's going on right now with the federal prison system. Many of you that have family members in there, maybe they're dealing with issues from asthma, other health hazards, other immune deficiencies. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Give you guys all a few minutes to join us. Again, if you haven't done so, take a moment, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video, give it a nice thumbs up. You can also text the word YouTube to 76626. That'll put you on our text message notification systems. And like I said, we're going to give you all a few minutes to join in. We've already got some questions in the room. I'll go ahead and answer a couple of questions while we're waiting for the rest of you to so kindly join us. Tabitha Bryant, my friend has been in jail for almost a year waiting to have court to change her plea. Will any of that time she sits in jail go towards her sentence? More than likely, 100% that will go towards her sentence, unless she's got some kind of a weird situation going on, which I don't see it not going towards her sentence. Almost all of the individuals that we see get time credit or time served for the amount of time they were in prison to go towards their sentence, and the good time will still come off from that as well. So your friend should be good. Looks like Caitlin. Hey Caitlin, how are you doing this evening? Spoke to you earlier today. I'm wiped. It's been a long couple of weeks. Every day feels like a very long day. But here we are. I figured we'd do a late night video tonight to catch those individuals on the West Coast that maybe just got off work an hour ago or so. But yeah, guys, look, what's going on right now in the prison system is extremely frustrating for all of you, extremely serious. You know, we're starting to see this whole COVID-19 slightly, at least the way the media is portraying it and what our leaders in charge would want us to hear and believe, that it's starting to get under wraps. They're starting to kind of get it under control. However, whatever level of control the country is getting on this hold of COVID-19, the BOP is going to be very far behind the threshold on that. They just haven't been able to contain this. And while we're waiting, guys, we're waiting for you guys to join. I'll post a link that LA Times did a story, talking about Terminal Island. Here, let me also post this in here. If you guys want to book a consultation with Tom, there's a consultation link for Tom. But here's a link for LA Times talking about, COVID-19 and in the prison system. It's what do we got going on here? Nearly half of the inmates at Federal Prison Terminal Island in San Pedro have tested positive for the coronavirus. 433 of the inmates, 100,055 inmates have the virus, along with 10 staff members. This is serious stuff. If you've got a loved one in the prison system that has asthma or other issues where their immune systems are at risk, and if you're not sure if your loved one has issues where they should be undertaking consideration from the BOP, you really want to know what your rights are. You want to know what avenues you can go down. Tabitha Bryant, $3 donation. That's amazing. I know you're going through a very, very stressful period of your own right now. I did talk to the crew today, so we're trying to come up with something for you. But many of you may have heard the BOP in its flip-flopping ways over the last several weeks. I don't know if you guys have been how close you've been following this, but Attorney General William Barr, he had posted two memos on March 26th and April 3rd that was directing the BOP standards for emergency home confinement under the CARES Act. Now, it's pretty black and white on who qualifies and who doesn't. Minimal risk. It's basically most nonviolent first-time offenders definitely are qualifying, and then of course they want to look at those that have health issues primarily first. There was never anything in there about how much time of your sentence you have served. So hundreds, if not thousands, of inmates were told they have release dates, or not release dates, but dates that they're going to go to home confinement. Because you're not being released from prison, you're actually getting transferred from prison to home confinement. And they got sent to a 14-day quarantine lockdown period. They were told, you're going to be going home on this date. Of course, the loved ones are telling their family members, hey, get ready, I'm coming home early. Many of these families really planned. They were excited. They're telling their kids, your dad's coming home or your mother's coming home. Many families had parties planned to, have their loved ones come back in. Only for some of these guys that were in quarantine, some of them were 11, 12 days, 13 days into quarantine, to get called back out of quarantine because the BOP decided to scoot along its own additives to what William Barr's directives were, and they decided if you haven't served 50% of your sentence that you no longer qualify. Just remember what it felt like the first time you came under fire. You got the knock on your door, the phone call, the letter in the mail. You just found out you're either under investigation or a federal indictment, or you just got arrested, and your world was just like trashed, right? You flipped on your back like a turtle. Then you go through that whole process. You're going back and forth with your attorney. Your attorney's telling you, look, you're not getting out of this scot-free. You're going to go to prison. And you're asking yourself, like, how am I going to deal with this? You finally come to terms with the fact that, you got to go do some time. Then you go get sentenced, and it's like that's another kick to the stomach, and you're sick. How am I going to tell my kids? You finally deal with all of this, and you accept it, and you go start your sentence. And then this COVID-19 pandemic rips through our entire, not just the United States, but the globe, just hit by this thing, blindsided. And whether it's hype or it's not hype or it's fear-mongering, whatever it is, the reality of what's happening is very real, right? The reality is people are out of work, people are getting sick, people are dying. We can say that it's not as bad as it sounds or the media is hyping it up, but regardless, the end result is still the same. It's put our country on its back. So now you're being called in from your case manager and said, hey, guess what? You qualify under, the CARES Act. You're minimal risk. You don't have a super lengthy sentence. You would be a great candidate to send to home confinement to stop the potential spreading of this virus in the prison. And this is the date you're going to go home. Fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, what better statement could you imagine hearing in prison than you're going home way early? Many of my clients had withdrew themselves from RDAP, the Residential Drug Addiction Program. They were in the program, and because they were told, you qualify for this, we're going to put you in a quarantine for 14 days, and then we're kicking your ass out of prison. So, of course, many people withdrew from RDAP, the Residential Drug Addiction Program, a 500-hour program that can reduce your sentence by up to a year. So if you withdraw from that program and you decide you want to go back into it, you don't just go back into where you were. So maybe you were in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. You're 50% done with this program. And now you find out, hey, by the way, you didn't serve 50% of your sentence. We changed our mind. We're going to take that back away from you now. Pull you out of quarantine, put you back in the unit. And now you got to deal with that mental, it's like going through it all over again. The suicidal thoughts, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the just lack of control. And this is what the BOP did. And our phones have not stopped ringing to the point where we've had to use booking links for you guys to schedule calls because we just don't have the bandwidth. I mean, literally, I need to hire somebody just to answer the phones. I am going to be introducing you guys to a new member of the team. His name is Casey. Amazing guy. I've known him for a very long time. He's actually one of the gentlemen that gave me a job when I first released from federal prison. So I get to return the favor and bring Casey aboard. But, booking a consultation is one of the only ways that we can really kind of find a way to manage the expectations of what you might qualify for. And of course, giving individuals news of, hey, you don't qualify. It's going to be a shot in the dark. So what happens if this happened to you? What happens if your loved one isn't being selected to go to home confinement? Maybe they don't have any, severe health problems, but you think they should still be able to leave the prison because it's still not, even if you don't have asthma, it's still not a safe environment for anybody to be in. And God forbid, maybe you're a 21-year-old man or a 30-year-old man, super healthy, that comes down with the virus. And yes, you're still going to get sick, but now you've got the chances of passing this on or giving this to somebody that maybe does have a weaker immune system. So in my belief, there is argument on either side of this coin to who should be able to take advantage of having the opportunity to go home. It shouldn't just be for a select group of people. They keep adding and creating their own rules as they're going. Those of you that have met Tom Root did a great article just the other day. And I'm going to post you a link to Tom's. You guys, if you haven't checked out Tom's website, it's legal, and I'm going to post it here in the link in a second. It's lisalegalinfo.com. There's a hyphen in there, so let me post it here for you. But he's got a newsletter that goes out to thousands of inmates nationwide, and he sends a newsletter every single week. It's every Monday, I believe, or every Sunday, one of the two. They get this newsletter, and this is something that was sent to the inmates that I just posted in there. And this talks about the BOP inmates, how, basically called it, did someone move your cheese? Everybody thought they were going, and then the BOP snagged the cheese and put it somewhere else, where now you're kind of back to square one. But he does some amazing articles on what the current events are through the BOP, what you can do, what your rights are, how you can advocate for yourself. And I've been blessed and amazed to have Tom Root as part of our team. He was actually going to be live with me tonight, but I ran way late. It's been a very long day, hence Johnny decided to join me. So welcome, Johnny. If you have anything you'd like to say, please speak into the microphone. But it's been an extremely long day, and it's only Wednesday. Gosh. So, I know what you guys are saying. Oh my God, Dan, you did RDAP and you're drinking right now. Yes, I did RDAP. Yes, I took the program very serious. Yes, it completely changed my life. However, I have a nightcap, whatever you want to call it, from time to time. I do not lose my senses. I don't drink myself into any kind of a coma. I do it to relax from time to time, so feel free to judge away. But hey, I'm off paper. I'm not getting ready to go to prison. So for those of you, just trust me. I've got it under control. Famous last words, right? I need to go call my sponsor. But yeah, guys, look, it's serious what's going on in the system right now. And I feel in some ways helpless because I see how desperate people are. And there's some real wolves in sheep clothing running through the system right now, because we just heard a group of guys that all got pulled out. They all thought they were going home. They all were in the quarantine process, and they all got yanked out. And one of my clients called me today and said they're all hiring attorneys to go after the BOP, saying the BOP can't do that. They're going to sue the BOP for telling them they're going to go home, and now they're not going to go home. You're not suing the BOP. The BOP they weren't obligated to send them home. This is you got selected for it. And if any attorney takes your money saying he's going to go sue the BOP, good luck. Good luck. I've talked to Tom about this over and over again, and these lawsuits would get dragged on and on and on. Chances are it would go nowhere. And even if it were to make any headway, for most of you, you'll probably be released before it even finishes touching ground. So what should you be doing right now if you're either denied by the BOP, you haven't even been looked at by the BOP, you haven't exhausted any of your BOP remedies yet? If you haven't gone through any of these processes, definitely you're going to want to book a consultation where it's going to be myself and Tom Root, and I've learned so much from this man. We all have mentors in life, and Tom Root has definitely become one of my mentors. So let me grab this consultation link again for Tom. The calls are supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes, but Tom ends up giving you guys like 30 minutes to an hour usually of telling you what can be done, from your BOP remedies to organizing medical records, creating narratives, what's going to be said, how it's going to be presented, drafting everything for you on your behalf, and then you'll be submitting it in the BOP. And also, at the same time, what can be done going directly to the sentencing courts. As you guys know, because of the First Step Act, which passed last year, the First Step Act now allows, if the BOP either denies you or doesn't respond within 30 days for any type of a compassionate release or through the CARES Act, if the BOP doesn't respond or they deny you, you now have the ability to go directly to the sentencing court, and the sentencing court can approve something like this, which you guys all met one of our clients that was released the day after Christmas through compassionate release, who should not have been released until 2023. So there are options. There are opportunities for some of you to take advantage of this. And, just like we tell everybody, you have to realize there is going to be a risk versus reward. The risk is going to be twofold. The risk is going to be, A, you're getting your hopes up. I don't care how prepared you get yourself, you're going to have your hopes up. You're going to be praying to God that it goes through, and your family members or yourself, whoever this is for, is going to go home. That's one of the cost to doing this. The other cost is the actual financial obligation that you're going to spend. The few $1,000s it could cost you to attempt to do this properly. That's a risk. If you don't have the money to spend on something like this, and knowing it's not a sure shot, it's not a slam dunk, it's not a shoe in the door, we don't have any contacts at the prison where we're going to go bump elbows and grease somebody's palms to make this happen. It's done through hard work, effort, and at the end of the day, they could say no, the judge could say no, the BOP can say no, and the risk versus the reward. The risk is you spent the money and nothing has changed. The reward is you spend the money, you got your hopes up, and maybe you're going to go home. So if you're in a position to where you can afford to do this, then yes. I also want to talk about prison consulting, the front side, before you go. Many of you right now are not taking it serious at all. Many of you right now feel like you're on fucking autopilot, like relaxation, vacation mode, thinking, oh, well, this COVID-19 thing is going on. They're not going to sentence me to prison. The judge is probably going to give me home confinement or probation. Don't be so sure. We're still seeing people getting sentenced every single day. A lot of courts are doing video court, where they're doing it like, a Skype or Zoom or whatever system that courts are using. Other ones are just postponing. They're postponing until this thing calms down. Some of you are getting sentenced, and then you're just getting an extension of self-surrendering to prison until COVID-19 calms down. So if you're not properly preparing, if you're not digging into personal narratives, what's going into the pre-sentence investigation so you have a favorable pre-sentence report, if you're not taking the character reference letter section of it serious, if you're not really truly understanding what it means to take responsibility and accountability for your actions beyond, and you guys hear me use this term the entire time, we should just have a video called Bullshit Acceptance Responsibility, because it's bullshit. Acceptance responsibility 99% of the time is bullshit. It's a one-page letter that you and your attorney sit down and come up with on the fly about you taking responsibility for your actions, and it's on a piece of paper, but there's nothing to go along with it. Now, I'm not going to say all of you, but for the majority of individuals that are doing acceptance responsibility, the judge's only reason to think you're doing it is to get the downward departure on the guidelines, which is true. You are doing it to get a departure on the guidelines, but why not also embed it into your day-to-day being, into what you're doing, so your video and your audio kind of link up. It's one thing to say, I'm sorry, and this is what I'm doing. The other flip of that is, how are you demonstrating that? How are you illustrating it? What picture have you presented for the courts to see this? I was talking to a potential client last night, and we were going through this. We were going through the narratives, the reference letters, what you're going to do in your community, really kind of coming up with a preliminary game plan of what it was going to look like. And one of the things he said was, isn't the judge just going to think I'm doing this because I don't want to go to prison? My question to any of you that are thinking that right now, any of you that are thinking, if I do all of this, it's just going to look like I'm doing it because I don't want to go to prison and the judge is going to see that. The question I ask, if you go out and do community service, if you have put effort into your letters, if you really start making these changes, is there any way that it's going to hurt your situation any worse than what it already is? And if you can somehow tell me, yes, doing community service is going to piss the judge off and he's going to give me a heavier sentence, then shit, you got me. I don't know what to tell you to that one. But the truth is we already know the answer is absolutely no. Anything you do to better yourself right now, community service, paying back some of your restitution, making an attempt to pay back your restitution, the way you're working on your letters, all of this in conjunction, there's absolutely no way it's going to hurt anything. So if we know it's not going to hurt anything, and there's even a slight chance, even if it's worst case scenario, 1% chance that doing these very specific detailed tasks could help your situation, wouldn't you want to do everything within your power to create as much influence as possible to create the best possible outcome at sentencing? We already know the prosecutor is not going to go, oh my God, Tabitha was such a great defendant, Your Honor, give her a free pass. The prosecution is there to gun you down in any way they can. The best you can hope from when you're dealing with the government is by accepting responsibility, taking a plea deal, not dragging your feet, not making them spend extra time and resource on you. The best thing you can expect from them, in addition to whatever departures that they're requesting, is for them to say, if Your Honor wants to downward depart, the government has no objection. That's about as good as it gets with the government. We have seen some rare occasions when I went to my client's sentencing in Washington. Husband and wife got sentenced. And honestly, that was one of the first times we saw this. But granted, we had almost 2 years of working with them. So it was a little bit different than the average individual. And boots on the ground, they lived in the same city as me. So it really became like a daily part of their life and our life. However, the government on that side was almost like a defense attorney. He was advocating for them. Basically telling the judge that, you know, they've never seen defendants like this. So they really did go above and beyond. But that's not normal to see. Now, because we've seen it and we've seen how the bar can now be raised and we found a new ceiling, we want to create that opportunity for all of you. Those of you that have criminal defense attorneys, whether it's a appointed attorney or a high-priced attorney, I wish I didn't get these kind of calls all the time, but so often I'll hear, you know, my attorney doesn't seem like they have my best interest. My attorney doesn't really answer my calls. My attorney seems like they're rushing it through the system. You know, we hear you. We hear you. We hear you. And some of you think it's because you have an appointed attorney. And you think this is why it's happening. But I can tell you, if I took, 100 clients and 50 of them that had the appointed attorney and 50 of them that had, a high-priced private attorney, I can tell you it's almost, they're interchangeable. You wouldn't know who was who by looking at the frustration on the defendant's face. I don't know why this happens. I don't know why it becomes so frustrating why an attorney has such a lack of intervening and getting involved. But then we'll meet these amazing attorneys that just, there we go. I was just going to talk about D. D, who's in the room right now, one of our clients, has an absolutely stunning attorney. We all got on a conversation, I guess it was last week, and I didn't really know what to expect because sometimes I talk to attorneys and sometimes they're, mightier than thou, and then other times they seem like, did you get your license out of a Cracker Jacks box? Forgot how you say that, whatever, Cracker Jacks. And you don't know what you're going to get. But this guy was super engaged, super outside of the box. And I think that's always a key to success, is you really need to do something different. You have to get in there. You got to be like a producer. You got to be an artist. I think if attorneys kind of applied their craft as an art form and not just this bone dry, boring, lecture-y bullshit, looking all stiff, not to offend any of you attorneys out there or aspiring attorneys, but literally you have the ability to craft something. You have the ability to take an artistic view with this and really show something different. Paint a picture of your client, not a false picture, not a made-up picture, not a manipulated picture, but pushing your client down a direction of doing what's difficult, doing what's hard, and using through truth and questioning. Your client says, I don't want to do this, or this is too hard, or why. You have to, explain to your client why this isn't going to happen, just like you would a little child. If a child came to you and said, why can't I eat this cookie at 10 o'clock at night? You don't just say, because I said so. And maybe we've all been there, we've all done that, but that's not giving them any reason. They're going to bed thinking, I can't have a cookie because my mom said no. Not because it's loaded with sugar and it's going to rot out your teeth and you're not going to sleep and you're going to develop ADD. Now you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. I mean, the rabbit holes we could go down on that one is a whole nother video content channel. Woman, hey, what's up? Woman Locked Up? What's going on? Amazing channel, guys. Go check out Woman Locked Up before and after. Very, very cool channel. She's done some time herself. I know we've talked about having you on the show and vice versa, and we got to get there. But yes, well, thank you for joining in. That's amazing. Touches me right here. Matter of fact, we're going to cheers Johnny to you. He's looking at you tonight. So, back to the topic, back to the subject. You guys, some attorneys are amazing, and Dee's attorney was on point, and it was refreshing. He listened to what I had to say. He listened to what we wanted to inject into the situation, how we wanted to go about these letters and personal narratives, and he ended the conversation with, I think Dan's going to be a huge asset to the outcome of your sentencing. And that's the idea. It's a fucking team effort. We're not here to go round and round with your attorney and bump heads and tell them what they're doing wrong. We want everybody to have that roundtable discussion like I got to do with Dee. It was her brother, her attorney, and myself. And we got to have this roundtable discussion of what's the game plan. Give us an overview of what the game plan is so everybody really knows what key parts they're playing. And when you have that transparency, some of you are scared to tell your attorneys that you're hiring a consultant because you've mentioned it. You've tiptoed around it. Some of you have already hired me, and then you go to your attorney instead of saying, hey, I hired a consultant. You kind of tuck your tail between your legs and you're like, hey, so I've heard there's these prison consultants out there kind of testing the water, putting your toe in, wanting to get their blessing before you tell them what you did. I'm telling you, it's much better to ask for forgiveness sometimes than it is permission. Not always, but sometimes it is. End of the day, you, the person watching this video right now, the person watching my lips move and flap a million miles an hour, you are the one that is going to go to prison. I've already been, so I'm not going again. Your attorney's probably never going to go. So if you know you're the one that's going, you have to have your own best interest at heart. And if you know you're making choices based on educated decisions and you're not just making these random shot in the dark type of choices, if you know every move you're making is somewhat calculated, explain to your attorney why you're deciding to work with a prison consultant. And I get where attorneys are coming from. There are some super, super shady prison consultants out there. There are also some really good prison consultants out there. We don't all get along, but you got to give credit where credit is due. You know, we've all seen Mike Santos and Justin Perperny. These guys know their shit. You know, we've all bumped heads a little bit and muddied up the water, but at the end of the day, those guys know their stuff. Other prison consultants out there, not so much. They're full of hot air. They like to hear themselves talk. They're more worried about being on TV and boasting and, you know, wearing sunglasses. And I mean, just, it's insane. But there are some really good individuals out there that can put you into a better situation than what you're currently in. And if that's the main goal and our main focus of what the outcome should be, then why not engage yourself to create that outcome? Because I can tell you what, when you're sitting in that jail cell and you're looking at that brick wall, it's not really brick, by the way, it's paper. When you're looking at your actual brick wall, wondering what you could have done different, I'm telling you right now what you could have done different. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to know what's going on. You got to know what's in your plea agreement. When I spoke to the young lady that's in the room that we were talking to earlier today, Tabitha, I think it was Tabitha. Was it? No. Who was that? No, Caitlin. I was talking to a young lady, Caitlin, today on the phone. And, you know, you have those phone calls where you really hear it in somebody's voice, where they're truly terrified. But you also hear how not engaged that they are in their situation. Like they don't have answers. They don't really know what it is they're signing. They don't know what their plea deals are. They don't really have an idea. They know like maybe the worst case scenario, but they don't have a plan. And without a plan, you're not going to have a desirable outcome. You're going to have an outcome that's going to catch you by surprise, and you're going to go from hot water to cold water or vice versa. You have to have a plan. Doesn't mean the plan is always going to work, but I can promise you, if you have an agenda of what you're going to do every day, or at least general every day, what you're going to do, if you're not making better decisions day in and day out from your decisions of yesterday, if you're not focusing on making better choices each and every day you're setting yourself up one step closer to complete shutdown and failure. When you hear about people committing suicide and going on the run, it's not because they woke up one day and they're like, I'm running. They torment themselves with the fear of the unknown, constantly telling themselves, I can't do this. This isn't fair. How come nobody cares? I have little children at home. I have sick parents at home, and this is so unfair. You go into that pure victim mentality that is so incredibly unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. It creates poor choices. It creates poor thought patterns, and it leads you to doing this, but not for the reasons that I'm doing it for. I'm doing it because I enjoy my nightcap of Mr. Johnny. But others will drink and drink and drink to not feel, to forget, and then this usually doesn't make it worse. This will make you angry. This will make you inebriated. Then you'll start making poor choices, and you end up doing drugs, and before you know it, you're a fucking wreck, and you're going, I wish I could watch RDAP Dan, but I can't watch him from jail. I need some RDAP Dan in my life right now to preach to me. And this is why I love doing this channel with you guys, because as you can see, it's a small channel. It's 7,000 subscribers. I remember when I had my first 100 subscribers, and if I could have done a backflip, I would have. But my channel is not here to be a YouTube sensation. My channel is here because, in addition to liking to hear myself talk, that's the conceited in me. I love to hear myself talk. I'm not going to lie. And anybody that's on radio or on TV or on whatever that does it consistently loves to hear themselves talk. So just be honest about it, right? Honesty is the foundation to change. I love to hear myself talk. However, I also love to see what I get from you guys. I love to see the responses and the feedback and the changes of my journey. And now that I get to share thousands of other people's journeys, look at the community that we can build here. We've got Woman Locked Up Before and After. She's got a YouTube channel. And when we get to do this, we get to hear all of these different stories that other people are able to share with us. And then we can present their stories and put it back out there. I got to do 2 amazing podcasts last week they're going to be major air podcasts. One of them is going to be on BBC. And I got to talk about my own situation, but how the COVID-19 pandemic of the shutdown of the government is very similar to what it's like on controlled movements within the prison system. So many of us that have done prison time, whether you did hard time or you did, Camp Cupcake time or wherever you did your time, it's not that different from what we're dealing with right now. You're being told when you can go somewhere, there's curfews, there's limits on what you can buy. It's very comparable to what the prison environment was like. So for many of us that have gone to prison, this isn't the end of the world for us. Many of us, it hasn't really changed our lives a whole lot. What it has done is created this eye-opening effect of how people are not prepared for something like this. Too many people are stuck in a routine. There's nothing wrong with routine, but you have to spice it up. You get too comfortable in your routine, and the minute that routine is taken away from you, you don't know how to respond. You don't know how to react. You kind of freak out. That's why it's invigorating to see people that just do random stuff. Like you'll see somebody like, hey, I just got my passport. I'm going to Europe tomorrow by myself with no plan. I've got a backpack, $1,000 in my pocket, and I'm just going to go kind of figure it out as I get there. People that live their lives like that, you're never going to throw them a curveball that they can't handle. It's just not going to happen. People that do the same thing, take the same route, exactly routine, they are really struggling right now. So guys, open your eyes with what's going on in this world and realize that nothing is ever going to be easy. And when it seems to be too easy, at any moment it can shift. And when things shift, like these individuals that were told they're going home in prison, They get called in, and a lot of them were my clients. A lot of my clients were thrilled. I was getting all these emails going, it's a blessing. It's a miracle. I still have 2 years left, and I just got told that I'm going home in 2 weeks. I got to go to my 14-day quarantine period. And I was ecstatic. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. I can't wait to interview some of them. And all of them got yanked back a week later. All of them. So imagine the routine they were in. Boom, boom, boom. The automatic, I'm going home. That I know it's already a done deal, and then it gets ripped away from you again. You have to be able to, everything that we talk about, building tools, building values, taking responsibility. It's so easy to do it when everything's going right. It's so easy, like when people go into AA and RDAP. It's easy to do these programs when you're in controlled environments, when you're in community environments. RDAP, you're in a cognitive-based therapy group with other individuals. So it's easier to do this because everybody's going in the same pace. But what happens when you're thrown out to the free world? You get out of prison. You're looking for a job. You're looking for a place to live. Your girlfriend just broke up with you. You know, you've got these things that just hit you left and right. Is it going to turn you to go back to old ways? For a lot of people, it will. It's so hard to apply what you've learned to be able to combat these negative feelings of broken hearts and how hard it is out there to make a living. You have to be able to fight through this. And if you can't fight through it, prison will be there waiting for you every single time. They'll have a bed. They'll leave the light on. What is it? Motel 6? They leave the light on for you guys. They really will. So you got to make the choices. You got to do what's necessary. Yes, this video is about home confinement and in helping you guys qualify, if you can qualify, helping with the preparation and getting the motions created properly so you know what you're doing. A lot of you guys have attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, and many of them have never really dealt with this area before. They've never dealt with compassionate release or CARES Act or anything beyond sentencing. So it's uncharted territory for them. I'm not saying don't use your attorney, but give us a call. Let us know what your attorney is telling you. Having that conversation with Tom could be the single best decision that you've ever made. And how do you have a consultation with Tom, you say? Well, just like magic, in this room right here, boom, there it is. Look at that. Like absolute happiness. And listening to Tom talk to people, I just laughed the whole time, because if any of you that have actually spoken to him at this point, he's funny, he's witty, but he's fucking brilliant. He will literally quote case law just like he's talking about something like the weather. And he just boom, boom, boom. He just knows his stuff, and he will run circles around 99% of other professionals in the industry. And he's so humble about it. He's not cocky about it. If you tell him he's wrong, he'll say, okay. But he's probably not wrong. He's just not going to argue with you. He's an older guy. He's been there. He's done that. He's done his time in federal prison. He's not broken. He's not jaded about it. He lives an amazing life, and he does amazing things for our clients. So I'm thrilled and very blessed to have him part of the team. I hope you guys take a chance, use the link, book a consultation with him. If you're not in prison yet, or your loved one is not in prison, and you want to know what you should be doing to mitigate on your own behalf, in addition to what your attorney is doing, that's where federal prison time consulting can really shine. We've had many of individuals that should have gone to prison that ended up with probated or slash of a combination of home confinement and probated sentences, or highly reduced sentences. At no time ever will you hear me say, I guarantee anything other than we'll bust our ass for you and we'll put in the work. But there's no guarantees into RDAP. There's no guarantees that you're going to get a shorter sentence. There's no guarantees that personal narratives and reference letters and properly preparing for the PSR interview and doing a mock version of the PSR, there's nothing that's going to make any of that a guarantee that it's going to change anything for you. What it will do, and so many of you that have been with me long enough will attest to the fact that, Hanson, what's going on, my man? Will attest to the fact that working with me, you've learned that it's not just about what we're talking about today. It's about changing the mindset, coming to terms with the actual reality, dealing with the day-to-day, reducing the anxiety, managing the anxiety, right? We're never going to get rid of it. The anxiety is always going to be right there, right in the corner, waiting for you to slip up, and it's going to want to stick you, jab you, uppercut you. But the goal is when those waves of intense anxiety rush over you, your job is to judo flip it off of you and realize that you just have to keep it at bay. You have to keep it calm. And you do this by being proactive, by taking steps, by not burying your head in the sand and becoming super negative, or nothing's going to change, or this isn't fair. We don't allow you to dwell in the level of negativity. We force you and argue with you and smack you on the hand and scold you. Literally tell you, stop, this isn't helping. Stop complaining about how unfair the situation is or the government's lying. That's one of the biggest things we get is, oh my God, the picture the government is painting is not the picture that happened. How can they do this? And what I say, welcome to Club Fed. This is how the game is actually played. Contestant, please step up. Here are the rules. There are no rules. The rules are they control the game. They build the narrative. They are going to paint a picture of you. Just because you don't like it and it's not fair doesn't mean jack shit. So when we can wipe all of that out of the picture and you can finally come to terms with, okay, if those are the rules of engagement, how do I play with those rules? Now we're talking. Now we can start making some groundwork here. When you understand that's how it works, we can now start talking about, if we know that that's going to be their play, if we know they're going to paint this picture of you, of you're this monstrous drug lord, ringleader, changing the odometers on cars or whatever it was, and they're going to outplay it and boister it out to make it way worse than what it really is, then we're going to get you to jump ahead of that and own that and focus on what it is that you did do. Most of you are not innocent. I'm not going to say most of you deserve the punishments that you got coming, but most of you, including myself, we did something to put ourselves in this situation to begin with, and when we can focus on that, when we can say, well, if I hadn't justified what I was doing at the time, I would not be sitting in this hot seat right now. So what you have to look at is what the government's now doing to you. Look at that as part of the consequences of your choices and actions that got you into this to begin with. And that is the key, one of the keys to success. There's many keys, many different ways to drive this car. There is no absolute one way, my way, or the highway, but my way probably is better than most. And it's because we've been able to navigate it. We've been able to look at what other consultants are doing, what other clients have done, and we're able to chew up the meat and spit out the bones, take the bits and pieces from what's worked for others without reinventing the wheel. Sometimes we have reinvented and we've come up with our own game plans, like the success coaching that we do with Jenny, the method coaching, where it can create these reports that can go to your probation officer and the sentencing judge. But for the most part, we're taking well-oiled systems from different areas of what we've seen work, and we found a way to compile it all together at a much more, in most cases, at a much more affordable rate than what a lot of you, I know some of you talk to me and you'll see prices anywhere from, depending on what we're doing, $3,500 up to $7-8 grand, in some cases 10 grand. But then you're like, oh my God. But then you talk to some of the other consultants in the industry and it's like, wow, it really is, those are the prices. Now you'll come across consultants that are like, oh, $2 grand for everything. Some of these, I use the word idiot just because I don't really care. Some of them should be ashamed of what they do. Some of them should be in handcuffs right now, like RDAP law consultants. There's a few of them out there that are really, they're probably not going to last much longer because they had such a run for such a long time with no opposition. And now that there's opposition out there that actually has a game plan and actually has products and companies and is creating a workflow, crafting narratives, reference letters, actually doing things that actually matter. When now somebody calls around and they're getting their, doing their due diligence on these companies, It's really hard to bullshit somebody when somebody else is telling you what bullshit to look for. So if you think you might be getting ripped off, and we'll price match. We're like Best Buy or Amazon. We will price match service to service. It's got to be valid services that you're getting. But if you show us a contract that you received from another prison consultant that is offering like services at a lower price than what we quoted you, we'll price match it just to show you that it's like, bring us the competitors. We want to see what they're doing. For me, it's cost of doing business. I get to see what my competitors are doing. Sure, who doesn't want to know what their competitors are doing? I'm nosy. I want to know what my competitors. I wish I could sneak into my competitor's playbook and go, yeah, I'm going to steal a page out of this book and add it to my own repertoire. But that's what I got for you guys tonight. Tom is brilliant and knows more information than most attorneys. Nazerto, well said, my man. Did I miss any questions in here? Anybody got any last minute questions in our late night? I'm exhausted. I probably sound delirious, but Brianna, I've been here since 1,000 subscribers. All right, Brianna. Look at that. Some love right there. Checking to make sure I didn't miss anything. When is the BOP planning to start moving inmates again? My husband's stuck at USP Atlanta and in transit to his designation. Your guess is as good as mine. As long as this pandemic has got it on lockdown, it's not really safe to be moving anybody anywhere. So weeks, months, we don't know. That's a good question. Thank you and Tom. Bajo, I will. Bajo said, thank you and Tom for all your hard work. Joaquin Ramirez. Okay, Joaquin. Another awesome client. My federal PO said federal court won't open back up until mid-June here in Oklahoma. Maybe, maybe not. I really couldn't tell you if that's true or not. What I will tell you is if that is true, take every moment you have to go above and beyond and don't waste it just because you think you got some extra time. Don't get complacent. And BOP is only lies. I've been watching their page and they're changing the numbers from 0. Yeah, that I can't really speak on. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to check and make sure there was no missed questions in there. But me and Johnny are going to end the night together. Shelly's already in bed sleeping. I do have some bad news I'll share with you guys. It's going to make me sad. So you guys have all seen my dogs, Oliver and Einstein. They're sleeping right now. Oliver was rushed to the emergency room Sunday night. He wasn't eating. He was pretty lethargic the entire day. And we found out he has 2 giant masses inside. And after several $1,000s in overnight vet fees for 2 nights, they've determined he's too old and too weak to operate on. So he's on some steroids and some fluids that we got to give him. And they said a few days, few weeks, maybe a month. They're uncertain. So I'm just blessed to have a few more days or weeks or months with him. But it's scary because we've had Ollie since he was a puppy, and he's 12 years old, and he's like one of my kids. I know some of you are going, oh my God, it's a dog. Just go put it down. Please don't say that. You can think it. You're entitled to your opinion, but this isn't Facebook. This isn't a public post. If you want to tell me to go put my dog down and don't spend any money on him, I'll fire you as a client, and I will delete you from my YouTube channel. But that's really how I feel about that. He's been part of our family for a long time, Oliver and Einstein. Sometimes I feel like I would trade them for my kids. Only sometimes. Other times, not so much. Thank you. Absolutely. Woman locked up before and after. Guys, go check out her channel. Here, let's grab her channel right now, actually. Let's do a little, let me pull it up for you guys. Post in the room. I know it won't let her post, but it will. It will let me post it. Woman locked up. All right, let's see. That should be your channel right here. There she is. Okay. Grab her channel. Alright guys, go check out her channel before you leave. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you subscribe to her channel, pop in and say, RDAP Dan sent me. What do you got on your channel? Oh, look at you, you're growing. Alright. Just got a little over 1,000 subscribers now, one day at a time. That's all you can do. Have fun with it, right? Get back on the look. I know sometimes it's easier said than done to post videos. People are like, how hard is it? You turn on your camera and you talk. Content is not the easiest thing in the world to come up with, especially when there's just a mind effery of what type of content to even talk about. Alma Williams, prayers for you and your family. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you. Love it, guys. So maybe Ollie will join us on the next one. He doesn't do much. He just kind of lays there. But he ate his biscuits by himself today. All right. I'm going to go snuggle with Oliver now. All right, guys. I really do love you guys. I appreciate all of the kind words. I appreciate the support over the last couple years. I know good times and bad times, and I know what you guys are going through, and I know sometimes you feel like you're all alone, and honestly, sometimes you are all alone. But in the reality is there's people out there that are going through exactly what it is you're getting ready to go through. There's people that have already gone through it, and if you look hard enough, you can find the light at the end of the tunnel and realize that most of you are going to have a release date. Most of you will put this behind you at some point. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Focus on the short-term goals of what you're going to do tomorrow and the next day. Don't think about, oh my God, this is going to consume the next several years of my life. It's not healthy. It's not going to do you any good. Other than that, people helping people, communities method, one day at a time. I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting. I love you guys. See you soon. Stay safe. Wash your mother effing hands. All right, guys. Peace.